Want acquirers to fight over your company? These are a few ways to make that happen. I'm 𝗪𝗏𝗺𝗏, managing partner here at HillView Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market, M&A capital advisory, investment banking firm, helping companies typically generating $1 million to $10 million a year in pre-tax earnings or EBITDA, sell their companies or secure capital. So you've decided that you want to sell your business. You want the best outcome. And so what we tell people, the best outcome is going to be a combination of the best narrative to the best audience with the best process. And in today's video, we're going to touch on a few of these components, both within narrative, audience, and process, that are pivotal to getting the competitive energy flowing in a sale. Now again, oftentimes in business, like in life, wanting something nice is good. Not wanting to lose something can oftentimes be a better motivator. And so if there is a competitive process, a parallel process, not just having 10 conversations in a row, but having 100 conversations on the same footing, pushing everybody forward at the same pacing and winnowing everybody down, kind of having them leap through the same hurdles, fetch the same rocks, that's what creates a competitive exercise. And ultimately, that is what creates the best outcome. So the first of these is crafting the audience. And so building that list of prospective acquirers. And again, there's multiple databases, there's ChatGPT, there's good old internet, there's trade rags, there's newsletters, there's a million different places to look for this. Our own internal databases and AI-driven research that we do as well. However, at the end of the day, crafting the best list or prospective acquirer universe, if you will, is going to target three things. Not just who would potentially buy this company, but who has a business that either lacks the access or capabilities that this business has. They do the same thing everywhere except here. They provide all these other services to a ton of customers, but they don't have this service. So if they could take the target company's services and sell it to all their people, or if they could take all of their stuff and sell it to the target company's audience, that's the synergies, that's what makes magic happen, and that's what you really want to look for in crafting the audience. Who is this company the missing puzzle piece for? And we've pounded the drum on that in a lot of our videos, and we'll put a few different screenshots here. But the point is, you could be singing the best song, but if it's not to the right person, they're not going to like how it sounds. And so you have to find the audience that your narrative, that your prong, if you will, that your puzzle piece slots into perfectly, such that you can make a compelling argument to the acquirer that this is a missing puzzle piece that they're looking for, that they should buy this instead of build it. Now, the second is running a tight process with deadlines and contingencies. Perhaps I'm just a cynical old Greek man in my age. However, I don't believe that anything makes people do anything in life or in business without deadlines and contingencies. Now, you don't necessarily want to be negotiating breakfast with your wife with ultimatums. However, in business, when aptly applied, when intelligently utilized, you do need to set these timelines. It keeps people in order. People like order. People like knowing there's a process, because every time that there's a next step in the process, they know as potential buyers that other people are shaking out of it. And so again, when we start an exercise, we reach out to parties and we say, are you interested? Let's have a conversation. We have those initial conversations. They review certain materials. They sign certain non-disclosure agreements. They review additional materials. They give us follow-up information, requests, and questions. We then have another meeting. We then have a meeting with ownership. We then ask for certain things prior to asking for offers. But the point is, it's on a lockstep conveyor belt, ticking along the whole way. No one gets to just hang around and kick the tires. No one gets to say, oh yes, we're certainly couldn't be more interested, yet couldn't be bothered to ask a single question. And so people have to indicate an interest. And so again, if you have that right audience and you start moving them down a conveyor belt, again, not in a nasty way, but in a clear and transparent way, as this is the process that we're running, this is how it's going to function, and everyone's going to kind of stay in lockstep with each other to make this a fair and efficient exercise. And number three is, don't give away all the information up front. What we mean by that is, although people are going to be under non-disclosure agreements, you have to kind of spoon feed some of the information. And that's an important part about working with an investment banker that we emphasize. And whether it's us or anybody else, we're not trying to be a barber that you're asking for a haircut. But if someone says they're interested in you and they ask 75 questions, there's probably only 20 of them that you should answer at this juncture, because there's a certain amount of information that you can give that should get them to the next step. Remember, the idea is not to sell a business to somebody in the first conversation. The idea is to progress them along, to winnow the audience, and therefore, every time you're divulging or giving away a bit more of the information, you are shaking certain parties off. People are going to self-select out of the process. You may proactively, we will proactively eliminate some parties from the exercise. And what that does is twofold. It keeps things more discreet, because we're not sharing all the information with everybody. Effectively, we're only sharing a certain amount of information, and then when people are no longer interested, they're kind of out of the exercise and not getting any further information. But it also makes it a two-way road. We want to know that people are thinking. We want to know that they're digesting, that they're analyzing, that it's not just a one-way street. Again, the opportunity in this environment is oftentimes rarer than the capital, and therefore, if we have something valuable in the sense of a meaningfully profitable business, we want to make sure that the parties we're speaking with are meaningfully interested. No fishing expeditions, no information gathering sessions, but bona fide parties looking to actually transact, again, if both parties agree on all of the salient terms. Number 4 is using competitive offers to leverage the best terms. And so we break down offers on a business largely into 4 categories. It's going to be the value of the company, the dollar amount someone's willing to pay for it, the structure of the transaction, what's at closing, what's over time, what are the contingencies, the transition period for ownership, how long do they have to stick around, what are their duties and obligations, and how long do they want to stick around, and how much does the proposed path line up with their objectives or goals. And lastly, what are the stakeholder considerations? How are the employees treated? What are the plans for the team, the company, etc.? And so if we were to get all of the offers kind of sequentially, and that being, we talk to one person, we get their offer, and then we start another conversation with someone else, and then we start another conversation with someone else. Not only would be taking just as long as all the other investment banks to sell companies, but as we do like to keep our processes at 6 months and we hit that target time and time again, but more importantly is you have a competitive landscape. We create a matrix. We have 10 offers. We line up all 10 companies. We say, we are the value, structure, transition, stakeholder. And from that, we can go back to all these parties and say, this is where you have to be on this. This is where you have to be on this. This is how the exercise iterates, because the goal is you don't want to necessarily pick a party that is good on some variables but not others. It happens from time to time. However, the goal is to pick the party that is the best fit both from an ethos and qualitative perspective, but that also is the best in all of these categories. And we're able to accomplish that. And again, it's the competitive exercise that does that. And lastly, is always keep a backup in a situation. We pride ourselves on the vast majority of our deals getting from the signing of an LOI to the closing of a deal. That being said, there have been a few times where a deal has fallen apart for reasons outside of our control. One time it was buyer lost its capital because interest rates had gone through the roof a couple of years back in a very abbreviated time period. There's been other situations where people have passed away during transactions. There's unpredictable elements that can do that. In those situations, you want to quickly kind of backfill the situation. And that's why parties number 2, 3, 4, we're not telling them, hey, get lost forever, lose my number. Not only do we want to work with them in the future as well, but even for the instant situation, we'll say, look, we're transparent. This is where we're headed. It's likely going to close. However, in the case that it does not, we'll quickly get back to you. And so keeping that in the background not only proves to be an insurance policy when something untoward happens, or something, shouldn't say untoward, but something unfortunate, or there's a random kind of freak thing that takes place and the deal doesn't close. But secondly, it's never the worst thing for a buyer to know that there are other interested parties. We used to call it the, you don't want anyone to feel like they're the only guy at the dance, right? You want them to know that there is a competitive exercise, that you're not going to snake anybody. You're not going to swap a deal out. You're not going to bounce someone out of the diligence process if they're acting honorably, if they're doing things in good faith. However, do want people to know that there is an active process, there are other interested parties, and if for some reason they do not perform according to what they've indicated in their LOI, then we do have ample alternatives in the situation. Now again, we make it a very strong point of our exercises to vet for only honorable parties, for people that we know are bona fide, that we've done the research on, that we have had many conversations with. But that being said, in the exceptions, always have a backup. It will either give you more leverage through the diligence process, or it will give you the insurance policy should something, in the very rare occasion, take place. And so, if you want a bidding war for your company, it's not a guarantee, but what's the best way to try to effectuate that, to try to create the competitive process that will ultimately produce the best results when you're looking to sell your business or secure capital? Again, it's the optimal combination of the right narrative to the right audience with the right process. And 5 key elements that we highlighted in today's video that kind of touch on each of these elements. Number 1, build a strong buyer list focused on access and capabilities. 2, run a tight process with deadlines and contingencies. 3, don't give all the information away up front. 4, utilize multiple offers to optimize all variables across the spectrum. And 5, keep backup offers warm. You never know when you're going to need them, and it certainly will provide some tailwinds throughout the diligence process. So that's our thought for today. Hope the week's finishing up well for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless. We'll see everyone next time.